I've really tried to avoid making another video on these cells that I harvested from laptop batteries. It's been over 30 days since I dropped episode 3 and I finally got past my laziness to bring you episode 4, which is the last one in this little series. Just to give you a quick recap, in episode 1, I harvested over 120 cells. By episode 2, I was down to 23 cells after checking the internal resistance of those cells. Then, in episode 3, I built a DIY device to test the milliamp hours of the remaining 23 cells. There's a link in the description for that intriguing playlist. So today, I'm diving into whether it's possible to arrange the remaining 23 cells in a way that balances their internal resistance and milliamp hours at the same time. Back in episode 3, I was just using one DIY setup to measure the milliamp hours for the remaining 23 cells, using one device plus all the hiccups I ran into during testing. Means it took over a week to wrap up. That's why I didn't share the results in episode 3. So let's jump into this before I get sidetracked. The NCR Panasonic cells have the highest capacity, followed by the CGRDA Panasonic cells. And after that, the other two groups of Panasonic cells are pretty much similar in capacity. Lastly, we have Sanyo cells, and I actually learned in the comments from episode 2 that Sanyo was bought by Panasonic. Oh, and let's not forget, we started with cells made in China, South Korea, and Japan. So does that mean Japanese cells are the best? Honestly, I'm kind of convinced. So when building a battery pack, the most basic information you need to understand is that lithium-ion cells in a battery pack are arranged in series and in parallel configurations to achieve two things: the desired voltage and capacity. Series connections increase the voltage, while parallel connections increase the capacity, which means you need to understand the intended use of the pack before building it. In my case, I have 23 cells, which means the best option I have is a 12-volt battery pack. And if I need to arrange the remaining 23 cells in a way that balances their internal resistance and milliamp hours at the same time, I need to consider this formula that states that when you're hooking up batteries in series, it's best if they all have the same capacity. And for those in parallel, they should match in voltage and internal resistance. If this statement is meant to end here, I would like to clarify that cells used in parallel can't match in internal resistance. This is why I believe the statement should conclude with the following. However, cells in parallel should have the same internal resistance for optimal performance. Since I already handled the cells with bad internal resistance in episode 2, the internal resistance rule doesn't really matter here. To break it down simply, when you connect cells in parallel, they pretty much act like one big cell. So even though I have a bunch of cells connected this way, they are really just functioning as one large cell with more milliamp hours. When I'm putting together this 3S pack, I'm essentially working with 3 giant cells. The catch is that these 3 big cells need to have the same milliamp hours according to the formula. Given that I've got 23 cells with different capacities, there's really only one way I know of that can make this work. If you're not great at math, just like I am, I recommend checking out a website called repacker.com. It's particularly useful for anyone planning to build a lithium-ion battery pack, as the interface is very easy to navigate. In my case, I started with 23 cells, and the website helped me eliminate 2 cells with the lowest capacity. This ensured that I ended up with a well-balanced capacity for each set of parallel cells. Ultimately, I created a 3S7P lithium-ion battery pack. To finally answer the question from episode 1 about whether it's worth buying used lithium-ion cells from old laptop batteries, in my experience, it's not a good idea for 2 reasons. First, the time spent sorting through the cells takes way too long. Second, there are a lot of cells that just don't make the cut for reuse. Unless you're using laptop batteries that are less than 5 years old, I'd steer clear. I know some people might disagree, but this is based on my own experience. In my case, I harvested cells that were pretty much a decade old, if not older. I have exciting plans for these cells in future videos, so please consider subscribing. If you found this video helpful in any way, don't forget to hit that like button. I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch this clip. See you soon.